in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School, and I hope you guys can hear me and see me okay. The lighting is a little bit flimsy today, but I hope that I'm coming through all right. Let me know if you can see me and hear me so that I know that I can continue. How are you guys doing today? Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling upset? Are you feeling good as hell, mad as hell, curious, concerned, worried? How are you feeling right now? Let me know in the chat as you come in. Also, shout out what city that you're from. I want to give a shout out real quick right now to all the protesters that are out there in the streets. Whether you are protesting peacefully or not peacefully, I want to applaud you. I really do. I really think that doing things in an unconventional way is how you get people to pay attention. I think that this is a great watershed moment, in the country's history. I ain't scared. I don't feel like this is bad. I think it's out of the ordinary in a good way, and I think it's great. And so I'm gonna just say this. I'm not here to tell. I would never in a million years allow a politician or anybody to use my name or get me out in front of a bunch of people to tell young people to stop doing what young people are supposed to do. I'm not a fan of telling them to not listen to their spirits. I think that there's times where young people need to listen to older people, and then there's times where, young people need to be doing the teaching. And so I see some of y'all keep mentioning Nike. Yeah, I happen to have on a Nike shirt just because that's what's on my body. But I do own enough Nike stock to say that when they make money, I make money. So how many of y'all own stock? If you are a stockholder, raise your hand. I hope that everybody is. I believe black people need an economic base. If you recall, Dr. Claude Anderson came through the other day, and one of the things Dr. Anderson keeps reiterating is that a big part of the reason you can't control what happens in your communities is because you don't have an economic base. Because one part of the game that black folks are still learning is that those who control the economic base control the political base. Those who control the political base control what happens when it comes to the police department. They control what happens when it comes to the educational system. They control what happens when it comes to everything that occurs in that community. So let's stop having just a bunch of neighborhoods and let's start having real communities, which means building an economic base. So that's my little PSA for today. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. Please hit the thumbs up button right now. Share, subscribe, and all that. And I just sent out a text notification. If you want to get a text notification when we go live, text the word Boyce to 31996. Just text the word Boyce to 31996. So let's get it popping here. So Barack Obama issued a statement, regarding all this stuff that's going on. So did Michelle, and I've had some thoughts about the Obama presidency for years. I was one of those people that found themselves to be very disappointed with the Obama presidency. I feel that black people keep getting when they talk about looting, y'all get looted like a motherfucker. I mean, black people get looted more than anybody else in this world. They loot you for your culture, they loot you for your votes, they loot you for your dollars, they loot you for everything, they loot you for your athletes. So black people been getting looted since y'all was in Africa. Like, Africa was the original loot spot. Like, same way people in Atlanta are going out to Bankhead and going to the mall and whatever, right? They're going to tearing down these targets and all that. Like they came to Africa and started the looting 500 years ago with what Dr. Claude Anderson refers to in Powernomics as the doctrine of unequal exchange. So let's keep it 100. Any looting that black people are doing right now is simply a It is simply a replication. It was learned from the original looters, which were the white men that came over on those ships, as pirates, and just took everything Africa had, took all the gold and all the minerals and everything else, and they still loot in Africa right now, and they're looting the black community as we speak, right? So you all are, so in my opinion, if you want black people to stop looting, then you need to first start with the white people and tell them to stop looting. And I think that's really important, because I remember the first time I ever went on TV actually was on Fox News, which is a terrible place to get your first national TV appearance. I mean, I didn't know what I was in for, and Sean Hannity really came pretty hard. And the big issue that night was Hurricane Katrina and the looting. And all they could talk about was the looting. And I said, these people are dying, and all you're talking about is looting? These people have been looted, since the beginning of time. And you're talking about somebody breaking into a store that has insurance and taking a couple of items. Are you serious right now? That's your motherfucking problem. That's your fucking problem right there, is that you are so disconnected from reality. Your racism has made you so stupid that you're focusing on the minors when there are major issues happening right in front of you. And it's going to cost you. The chickens will come home to roost. They always do. So long story short, shout out to every protester. I chose to take my family on a trip, and I have to be with them. But I wish I was in Louisville, actually. If I could be anywhere else, I would be in Louisville right now, because I'm really proud of my city, because they're really confronting the system in a major way. And I gotta even give a shout out to the white folks that are out there. Y'all know how I am, right? I don't really trust a lot of folks. I don't, this whole white thing, I kind of think white people kind of hate you, and I still believe that. But I gotta give it up for the white folks that formed this line. They all locked arms and formed a line, and they said, look, the police won't shoot us, but they'll shoot you, so y'all stand behind us. I'm okay with that. Not getting into no white supremacy, like white people are wonderful and good, and thank Lord Jesus for white people. This is not it. This is me having a moment of transparency to say that actually impressed me. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay that out there. I know y'all think I'm capping for white people, and I know it's hard. It's hard to say that, but I got to give credit where it's due. So this is not giving credit to all white people. This is giving credit to those white people. And I thought that was actually a good thing, in the sense that I'm glad that we're bringing attention to this issue. Now, here's the problem, though. Here's the issue. The reason that most of about 80-90% of what you're seeing right now is, a lot of it is an exercise in futility. A lot of it is you spinning your wheels. A lot of it is you constantly being dragged on this emotional, traumatic roller coaster that you get dragged on a repeated basis, because you're living in this very strange purgatory where the world and the universe keep repeating itself. You keep living the same nightmare over and over and over again, where something happens and you sort of like get really upset, and you get re-traumatized, and then it happens again, right? It goes right back to happening again. Now, so the issue I would kind of lay out for you guys to consider is, how do we dig deeper into understanding what needs to happen on a systematic basis for us to actually, change all of this, right? To get to the point where the police are not just doing crazy things like this white guy did to George Floyd. I'm not as concerned about George Floyd and his family, or about this cop and whether he gets convicted, as I am about addressing the bigger problem, the bigger issue of systemic racism. Because what's happening now is, and the cycle is very basic. The cycle is really predictable now. Cops see black man, cops kill black man. Civil rights attorneys are on the scene. Benjamin Crump and Lee Merritt are both fighting. They're like the McDonald's and Burger King of civil rights lawyers right now. So they're probably all rushing to get on the phone with the family, so they can hold a press conference and get justice for the family. The people get pissed. They start protesting. Maybe the protests get out of hand. And then if the protests do get out of hand, suddenly, miraculously, out of the blue, a family member is on the internet asking people to calm down and go home and stop and blah, blah, blah. When really the reason they're doing that is because their lawyer told them, look, we can get a better settlement from the city if you'll make this video, right? If you help the cops, they're going to help you get that money. Well, as a concerned citizen, I'm not really as worried about the family getting paid as I am about the community being safe. I'm not as worried about you getting your check as I am about the black community getting a police force that is respectful to black people, right? So I don't give a flying fuck what the family has to say at that. I'm sorry. If the family ain't saying something that sounds real to me, then literally it's going in one ear and out the other. At that point, you're sounding like a politician. At that point, we know what your angle is. At that point, we know you're trying to get paid. And that's all good. Go get paid. But get me out of it. I don't want no parts of that, right? That's you. That's between you and the police force that's going to pay your bills for the next 25 years. And you deserve it. You deserve it because what you went through was terrible. But getting justice for you is not the same as getting justice for everybody. Let's be clear about that. Because what the lawyers will do is the lawyers will go and get a big settlement for the family and get a settlement of which they'll take maybe a third of that, right? Because I imagine they do these cases pro bono because a lot of the families don't have any money. And then they'll say, okay, case closed. We got justice, y'all. We got justice, y'all. Pass the chicken and the watermelon. We got justice, y'all. No, we didn't. That ain't justice. They wrote a check to the family because they're trying to make it all go away so they can go out hunting Negroes again. They're going to be hunting niggas next week. Like, seriously, like you literally are going to leave town and it's over at that point. So no justice served. That ain't justice. That's a payoff, motherfucker. Seriously, know the difference between justice and somebody getting a check. Those ain't the same thing. Black people been getting checks since slavery. That's not justice, right? So let's just be clear, okay? And then, then going deeper than that, you start hearing from the politicians. Oh Lord, the politicians and the black leaders. Goddamn black people, man. Y'all are. Somebody said stop saying y'all because you're black too. Well, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about y'all. But I need to quit. These people that claim to be black leaders, it's almost comical that at least 80-90% of them are literally like they're from another planet. In 90% of the cases, when you look to black leadership as black people, you're worshiping the Wizard of Oz. That's what you're doing. You're worshiping the Wizard of Oz. You're looking at these people and you see them on a pedestal. You see them as leaders for maybe one of three reasons. There are usually three reasons why you select a Negro as your leader, your spokesperson, or whatever. One, they've been elected to some sort of political office, like Keisha Lance Bottoms or somebody like that, who was out there yelling at black people, which, by the way, I thought that was bullshit. Sorry, Keisha, love you. I hear you're a nice person. But if you're going to yell at black people, I need to see you yelling at white people, too. If you're going to yell at us, I need you to yell at them, too. I also did not at all like the fact that she was invoking the names of Killer Mike and T.I. to justify her yelling at black people. And when she says T.I. and Killer Mike own half of the West Side, I need receipts on that. That's some bullshit. They don't own half of no goddamn West Side. Come on. Billionaires own Atlanta. Like, let's keep it 100. I'm not trying to say that she is a bad person. I'm trying to say that I personally get deeply annoyed when I start seeing politicians go into black mama mode. Like, you better not take one foot out that door. I'm going to hit you in the head with a piece of chicken, nigga. Like, no, don't talk to us like that. Stop that. Seriously, like, I get it. Okay, you're a mother, that makes you more relatable. And I'm sure deep down you are a black woman. I'm not taking that away from you. But stop it. You're using your connection, your social connection to the community in a way that is simply serving the interests of your ultimate master, which is the Democratic Party. That's what you're doing. They're saying, okay, we need you, Keisha. We need you out there, girl, because your name Keisha, and they're going to relate to a mama named Keisha who talking about saving her black babies, and we just need you to, and at the end, we need you to say, go vote for Biden. Everybody go vote for Biden, right? Seriously, because at the end of the day, all roads lead right back to the master, to the king. They lead right back to Master Biden. All roads, listen to the Negroes carefully. Listen to them carefully. I'm not hating on her at all. I'm sure if she was speaking on her own free will, she would say something completely different. I do not believe she would have made those same statements if she were speaking as Keisha Lance Bottoms. Instead, she's speaking as the mayor of Atlanta. All roads lead right back to Massa Biden. Am I lying or am I telling the truth? Y'all tell me. Listen to her words. Go home. Go home. If you want to do something, if you want to be active, then go vote. What? Did you just really say that? You mean black people haven't been voting they asses off? Like, black people vote damn near as much as y'all dance, and y'all dance a lot. Seriously, black people vote like a motherfucker, and ain't shit changed. Stop that. And I really would like to have a word with Killer Mike and T.I. over the fact that that she used their name in that way. I'd be curious. I've seen T.I. When I was in Ghana, T.I. took a really tough stand against some people that were using his name for their own promotion or for their own profit or whatever. And I was like, okay, good. He's protecting his brand. He should, because he's T.I. He's one of the best rappers since Tupac. I think he's great. So I understand, like, protect your brand, brother. That's good. So I'm trying to wonder, are you okay with her using your name that way? In a way that intelligent people can see was highly inauthentic. These are the people talking. Like, these are the people from your hood who are basically saying, they weren't going around just burning. They weren't looking for black businesses to burn down. What I saw was they were in the expensive malls in Atlanta busting windows out. I'm not trying to say that busting windows out is the preferred protesting strategy. I say you protest the way you want to protest, right? But at the end of the day, the logic was not there. So I'd be really curious to see what negotiation happens before she's allowed to invoke your name, to use your name to control and manage people that she can't control. She has no connection to the people, but rappers have all the connection to the people, because black people listen to rappers more than we listen to anybody else, which is actually part of the reason why you struggle as a community. You really need to I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to rappers. Some of your rappers are smart, but you really also need to listen to some of your lawyers, your scholars, your doctors, your your sociologists. You got black people out here that really know a lot of shit, and you ignore them because you listen to somebody who knows how to rhyme like a goddamn 5-year-old. Like, seriously, seriously, like, when we're 5 years old, we love rhyming, and then when we're 35, we still what that nigga said didn't make much sense, but at least he be rhyming when he say it. He be rhyming good. Seriously, you're not a 5-year-old. Seriously, like the rappers are great. But, if you listen, for example, even with T.I., I'm not going to talk about Killer Mike. I can separate the two. If you listen to T.I., T.I. is a guy that has some growing to do when it comes to how he addresses activism. Sometimes if you listen to him try to go in the space of, say, where the scholars are at and whatever, and try to lay out his arguments, sometimes you're like, okay, you're a genius, you're brilliant. Anybody who listens to T.I.'s music knows that this man's a genius. He's an absolute, you can't tell me anything other than that. He is absolutely brilliant. But the brilliance doesn't transfer necessarily to political and socio-economic analysis. And that's okay, because I'm sure that as brilliant as I am in my space, whatever that is, I'm sure if I went into the booth and tried to rap like T.I., I couldn't do it. I'm sure I would sound like a goddamn fool. So the point of the matter, so he's better than me, right? When I step in his territory, I would sound like a complete fool. He steps in my territory, he doesn't sound like a complete fool, but he don't sound like the smartest guy in the room, right? So I think at the end of the day, we have to sort of process who's talking to black folks and what the message is, and whether or not you should even allow yourself to even have a leader anyway. Like, do you really need a leader to tell you that white... Give me a yes or no in the chat. Yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Do you need a leader to tell you that, that white people treat you like shit? Like, give me a yes or no. Like, do you need a leader to be like, hey, did you know that white people don't like you very much? How many of y'all need a leader to inform you that racism is real in America? Seriously. How many of you need a leader to let you know that police killing black men is a bad thing? Hey, how many of y'all need leaders to tell you that? Right? How many of y'all need leaders to tell you, that voting what voting does and does not do for your life. How many of y'all need leaders to guide you and say, well, the reason you vote is because if you vote, whoever you vote for, that person that gets the most votes is most likely to be put into office. And how many of y'all really need black leaders to give you a fucking civics lesson to tell you what to do? Or how many of y'all need black leaders to tell you how to take care of your goddamn own motherfucking family? Seriously, how many of y'all need leaders to tell you what's best for you and your family? I don't. I don't. I don't need a leader to tell me that. I don't want you. I don't even want you really talking to me, because the problem is that you're coming into the conversation with some warped incentives. You've made deals in the back room in which somebody has leveraged your influence to get you to share a message that is specific to a certain agenda that you have, on an individual basis that ain't got shit to do with me. So to some extent, what you're doing is you're using, your connection with me as leverage to negotiate power in the, in halls that most of us are not invited into, right? And I'm okay with that. Just leave me out of that shit. Like, at least that's why I say, for example, this platform is for intelligent black people. Intelligent black people will get this. I don't talk to you as fellow intelligent black people because I'm looking to lead you. I'm not going to come out here and be like, well, as Dr. Boyce Watkins, I'm telling you that you need to go vote for Biden, or you need to go do this and go do that. No, you know what I am? And I do this at your pleasure, at your leisure, at your, I do this because you give me the privilege to do this. I am at best an advisor. That's what I am. I'm an advisor. I'm the guy who says, I studied finance for 25 years and I know a few things, and let me share some things that you might want to consider in terms of how you raise your family or what you want to do next with your wealth. I'm not the guy that's going to feel like I'm a leader. I'm not going to yell at you like Keisha Lance Bottoms and feel like I somehow can take something that you already want to do, something you've decided to do, like maybe it's protest, maybe it's to throw a bottle through a window, whatever the fuck it is, and yell at you like a child. Like, I think we got to get past that. I don't see any other community where the leaders in the community, so-called leaders in the community, yell at the constituents like they are children. Black people have, and this is linked to slavery, black people have always been seen in a childlike fashion. That your men are children. Your men are children. They're either children or they're women or they're beta males, right? With one of the three things, like black men are in this country are made into women, children, or beta males. And that's why people sort of look at you in a very paternalistic sort of way. Even even your own people do, because these are the elite, educated Negroes who feel like they know better than you do. So I'm not a fan of that. I didn't like it at all. Now, do me a favor, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button real quick. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it. Also, what's up on Instagram? My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So if you want to see real conversation that's going to make you think, follow me on The Real Boyce Watkins. Also, tomorrow or starting Monday, we're doing a Black Stock Market Challenge. I want everybody to become investors. So we'll show you for free. The Black Stock Market Challenge is totally free. You can go to theblackstockmarketchallenge.com, THE. That's theblackstockmarketchallenge.com, and you can get started. It won't cost you anything. It's short lessons. It'll make you a better investor, and I guarantee it. You'll love it. Okay, so the next piece on here is this. So I mentioned that, the different types of leaders that black people tend to be presented with. You've got the rappers, for some reason, because rappers and entertainers are famous. We think entertainers are important. You've got the Negroes on TV, maybe like a Joy Reid or whatever. And Joy Reid is hilarious. Joy Reid is about as white as they come, but she's got black skin, so it works for her. Then you've got the politicians, like the Keisha Lance Bottoms, who like to yell at black people and tell them what to do. Maxine Waters, I think Maxine did one of those like I'm your grandma. Don't you set one foot out this door. Just kind of speaking to you in a way that I guess maybe there are people that relate to that. I don't think most people relate in that same way. So here's the thing, right? I think that when you're talking about moving forward on this, I think that this is not just an opportunity to address an injustice. It's about addressing all levels of injustice in a way that's going to actually lead to effective shifts in how we see the world and how we engage with the world, that will not just, protect the lives of men and women that are dealing with the police, but also protect you from manipulation from those who profit from controlling and hurting black people, like KFC chickens. Like, seriously, like they're the most black folks. If you think about those three categories of leadership that I mentioned to you, the rappers, the politicians, and the TV stars, these are all people that are controlled by white people. This is the reason. That's why I call it the Wizard of Oz syndrome. You have the Wizard of Oz syndrome because if you remember in the story of the Wizard of Oz, what happened in the Wizard of Oz? Everybody followed the wizard and believed the wizard was all powerful. They loved the wizard and all this other stuff. Why did they love the wizard? Why did they think the wizard was great? Because he appeared to be great. But Taylor, we'll do that later. He appeared to be great, but he actually had no power, right? Like it's like he had big shiny lights and a big microphone, and he was yelling orders out. And people were like, just following whatever he said. In The Wiz, it was really cool. Richard Pryor's like, the color, the color now is red. And they're like, and everything turns red and people are dancing. I wouldn't be called dead without red, right? And then it becomes green. He's like, the color is green. And they all start wearing green and they're dancing the green and all that, right? And a lot of that is built on this idea, a false idea, that the Wizard of Oz actually had all this power. And it was Dorothy who went behind the curtain and said, you ain't shit, right? You a little coward ass punk. Like, you're making promises you can't keep, and you're controlling people with false hope. You're controlling them with this idea that somehow you actually have this power and that you can make their lives better. So everybody's trying to see the Wiz because the Wiz is going to, empower them. And really the power lied inside of them. Right. And so why do I bring that point up? Well, because a lot of your Negroes that are on TV, a lot of your rappers and your politicians have been created by white people. Seriously, none of these individuals, almost none of them would be in your consciousness had a white person not come along and said, I like that boy, I'm going to give him a record deal. Or a white person that come along and said, I like Joy Reid, I'm going to put her on MSNBC. I still remember in 2008, I remember Al Sharpton introduced me to the president of MSNBC, and I didn't know why this was happening. I was too naive to understand how the chess is played. Sharpton is a chess player. He might be a little bit of a bootleg preacher. I'm not going to stop saying that's not true. But he's a very smart man, and he's very strategic. That I will give him credit for. So anyway, Sharpton introduces me to the president of MSNBC. And I didn't realize at the time that I think they were vetting me. I think they were trying to decide, okay, is this the guy that we should prop up and boost up and put out there? And obviously I'm not the guy. I'm not a fit for that type of thing. So they went with Melissa Harris Perry, which was probably a better pick based on the agenda that they had. So most of these people, though, these politicians, yes or no, do you think Keisha Lance Bottoms would have her power if it wasn't for white people getting behind what she was trying to do? Because white people, the money is what puts you in office. And the billions of dollars or millions or however, tens of millions, however it costs to run for mayor, I imagine she didn't get all that from black people. Not to say she didn't get some of it from black people, right? We got some wealthy black people out here. But I would be stunned if she got the majority of that money from black folks. If you go into, television, music, all of that, most of these individuals have been propped up by the white community. So the Wizard of Oz syndrome comes into play in the sense that you think that because the Negro's on TV, oh, he must be rich and powerful. When really the rich and powerful person is the other person who's puppetly controlling that Negro on TV and keeping them on TV, right? You think that this politician is powerful because they're in office, when the reality is that the real power belongs to the people that actually put that politician there. Obama, in my opinion, I used to be really hard on Barack, and I'm going to read his statement in a minute. I used to be really hard on Barack, and I still am to a point, but I figured it out. I said, I don't think Barack really had the power to do the things that we were hoping that he could do. I don't think, not only did he not have the power, I don't think he had the courage either. The courage would require him to have actually ruined his career to stand up to the forces that keep black people oppressed. He didn't have those kinds of balls. He didn't have that. He just wasn't that guy. He was smart, very intelligent, very thoughtful. I love the fact that he thinks about every word that comes out of his mouth. I respect that immensely. But the man ain't got no balls as far as politicians go. He's not the guy that's going to really go out there and just tell it like it is and do what needs to be done. Barack ain't that dude. He wouldn't have been pushed. White folks would not have elevated him through Chicago politics the way they did if he was that kind of person. So my point is to say, rather than getting so upset when they can't deliver for black people, I think that a better approach is to get an understanding of who has real power and who's simply the Wizard of Oz. I will just tell you, most of the Negroes on TV are the Wizard of Oz. Most of your rappers are the Wizard of Oz. Most of your politicians are the Wizard of Oz. There are people, though, who are powerful. And I would say, really, in general, the greatest power actually lies within you. I think that all of us collectively coming together, if you really look at what's moved the Democratic Party, frustrated the shit out of them and moved them, it's been independent, righteous people on the internet with a few 100,000 followers who combine with somebody else with a few 100,000 followers and actually get out there and are really telling the truth, right? When you have a Roland Martin or whatever who's trying to be part of the establishment who thinks he can ignore a Tariq Nasheed or write off Tariq Nasheed or write off a Vicky Dillard because, well, you ain't nobody. White people don't even know who you are. And I've been on the Today Show, right? Which means Roland has the wrong metric to begin with, right? But they think they can write off these people. But if you add up a Rizza Islam, a Vicky Dillard, a Tariq Nasheed, a Boyce Watkins, a Black Authority, and you keep going up that pile, then you're getting this collective of real power from people who don't really give a fuck what white people think, like who really are in the game and saying like, this is a bunch of bullshit, right? So I think we've got power. I just think that we need to stop looking at that which is flashy and look at that which has substance, right? You have substantive power in your community. The flashy power is not usually where the real power is at. That's just my 2 cents. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, on Monday, the Black Stock Market Challenge starts. So if you want to join us, it's totally free. It's theblackstockmarketchallenge.com, THE. That's theblackstockmarketchallenge.com. And not just Rizza Islam. Maybe you throw in Brother Wesley Muhammad and the Nation of Islam in general. You just have so many great people out here that really, truly are putting black people first. Dr. Claude Anderson, my God. How can we talk about any of this without talking about him? So I think that there's hope. I really do. I just think we have to look in the right places. So here's what Barack Obama had to say about the death of George Floyd. He said, let's see here. I want to share parts of the conversations. I'm going to try to talk like Barack. I want to share parts of the conversations I've had with friends over the past couple of days about the footage of George Floyd dying face down on the street under the knee of a police officer in Minnesota. That's not a good imitation, is it? The first email is from a middle-aged African-American businessman. Dude, I gotta tell you, the George Floyd incident in Minnesota hurt. I cried when I saw that video. It broke me down. The knee in the neck is a metaphor for how the system so cavalierly holds black folks down, ignoring their cries for help. People don't care. It's truly tragic. Another friend of mine used the powerful song that went viral from 12-year-old Kedron Bryant to describe the frustrations he was feeling. The circumstances of my friend and Kedron may be different, but their anguish is the same. It's shared by me and millions of followers. It's natural. So then he has a picture of Kedron on his page, and I guess that's Kedron singing. Okay. It's natural to wish for life to just go back to normal as a pandemic and economic crisis upend everything around us. But we have to remember that for millions of Americans, being treated differently on account of race is tragically, painfully maddening normal. Whether it's while dealing with the healthcare system or interacting with the criminal justice system or jogging down the street or just watching birds in the park. This shouldn't be the normal in 2020 America. It can't be normal. If we want our children to grow up in a nation that lives up to its highest ideals, we can and must be better. It will fall mainly on the officials of Minnesota to ensure that the circumstances surrounding George Floyd's death are investigated thoroughly and that justice is ultimately done. But it falls on all of us, regardless of our race or station, including the majority of men and women in law enforcement who take pride in doing their tough job the right way every day, to work together to create a new normal in which the legacy of bigotry and unequal treatment no longer infects our institutions and hearts. Okay, yes, I agree. My impersonation of Obama is terrible, Adam. You are 100% correct. So, all right, so here's what I am hearing, right? I like that statement. I do. I like his statement. I think that he deserves credit for writing a good statement. Here's my one concern. My one concern with this statement is, actually, scratch that, I have two concerns. There are two questions I'd love to ask him. He can come on here if he ever wants to come visit. Because I actually like Barack. We live 2 blocks from each other, actually, in Chicago. One, do you think that maybe this statement is being made in the way that it's being made because it just happens to be an election year? Do you think that our loyalty to Massa Biden is what's driving this statement? That maybe, we're going, we're seeing which way the wind's blowing, and we're using that momentum to somehow sort of, lay out a radical disposition so that black folks will show up to the polls. I think that the fact that it's an election year probably plays some part in why Barack suddenly went assalamu alaikum on us. He suddenly became Mr. Black Fist, Mr. like, it ain't right, black people being mistreated. Okay, fine. That's what I'm saying. Second piece is this. Barack was in office for like 8 years. And if I recall, tell me if I'm wrong, he had actually, the Democrats controlled all 3 branches of government, the Senate, the House, and the executive branch. If I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm wrong. So when you speak about the tragedies that are affecting black people, but you speak as if you too are somehow part of the group that's being victimized, or you speak in a way that is very passive and I can't do nothing, it ain't right. It kind of bothers me a little bit because you were president of the United States for 8 straight years. I need to understand why somebody couldn't make the argument that the policies of your administration, or the lack thereof, contributed to the conditions under which George Floyd and many others have been killed. That had you taken a more aggressive position, had you been writing statements like this in 08, 09 instead of waiting until 2020, that maybe the world would be a different place. I'm not telling you guys what to think. I'm just encouraging you to think for yourself. So maybe I'm curious to see what more the Obamas have to say. They addressed, what I laid out as a criticism, which is, I'd always said, why haven't they talked about the things that black people care about? Why aren't the Obamas speaking on this? Why are they sitting back like royalty? And, at the end of the day, I think that, they see what's going on like everybody else. They see that the mood of the public is shifting. And I think, honestly, that's probably the best piece of evidence you have that what you're doing right now is working. I mean, all of it. The massive protests, the busting windows, like all of that. Like, seriously, I'm not telling you people to go out and bust windows. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the fact that people are acting differently and the fact that people are saying we're sick of this shit and we don't give a fuck about your rules. Fuck your rules. Your rules can kiss my whole entire black ass. I'm going to do what needs to be done. Like, and I give props to the young people for this. The young people are the ones who are doing most of this. Us 45, 50-year-olds, we can't take credit for this. I think that's actually great, and so that to me is an indicator that you should keep doing what you're doing and keep having a zero tolerance policy for politicians that pussyfoot around and give you a long list of rules and regulations regarding why they can't do anything for you, right? Like my mother used to always tell me this all the time. She always said everything's negotiable. everything's negotiable until you believe somebody when they tell you that it's not negotiable. You know, every rule can be broken until you allow somebody to convince you that that rule just can't be broken. You know, so what we've always dealt with, and I remember dealing with this when I was at University of Kentucky, and we were having a lot of protests over some racial issues that happened there. And the campus is still a racist campus, so we apparently didn't make as much change as we would have liked. I remember older people, when I was 25 years old, I remember older people telling me to be patient and, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. And in hindsight, what I realized is that when we basically said, fuck your rules, and just pissed all over the floor and, you know, just did whatever we felt needed to be done in perhaps a naive fashion because we weren't handicapped by understanding what the rules were, that's when we noticed they would adjust because they'd be like, oh my God, the Wizard of Oz routine is not working and we have to do something real now because we thought we would actually control them by creating this artificial structure that contains our actions and behaviors and limits what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. And when that illusion has been destroyed, that's when you start seeing older people start to adjust. So that's what I want to say on this. Michelle Obama issued a statement too. You can look it up. I'm glad she spoke on it also. But I think with the Obamas, I think that their statements have a little bit more responsibility that should be attached to them in the sense that I don't really want to hear two of the most powerful, wealthiest black people on earth sit back and talk like they're victims too. I would like to actually see them speak as empowered individuals who are actually doing something to shift the condition of black people, you know, in every single way. So for example, here's an example. If you want something concrete, here's a concrete example. It would be really cool. The Obamas are worth probably $100 million right now. They probably have billions of dollars in influence. It would be really cool if the Obamas were to partner with some of their so-called well-intended white friends and go into West Chicago or South Side Chicago and commit to creating 10,000 jobs, quality jobs for the young brothers and sisters in South Side Chicago so they can actually build a better life. Like that would be cool. Now, I would love also to see centers for entrepreneurship for all these young black men who've been kicked out of the economic system. If you look at George Floyd's life before he died, he reminded me a lot of my Uncle Donald, as well as a lot of people, you know, my Uncle Donald who also went to prison, you know, beat by police, all that shit, you know, and these guys, a lot of these guys are just locked out of the system. You know, they're not going to get jobs working at motherfucking Bank of America. They're not going to get, you know, the same opportunities a lot of people are going to get because a big black man doesn't really fit into corporate America. He kind of sticks out like a sore thumb a lot of times, you know. So I think black men have to have a similar sort of support and treatment similar to the way you did with Native Americans. Native Americans, you gave them their own land, their own territory, their own space, their own laws. I'm not saying that we have to do all of that, but I think black men need to learn to build their own institutions. That's one of the things I've pitched when I've talked to a few people who claim to be well-intended, who really seem to care about the issue. I've said to them that, you know, you don't really need to just create jobs for black men. You don't just need to send black men to college so they can fit into the white economic system. You need to teach these young motherfuckers how to build their own goddamn shit. Most black men need, you know, especially black men who are not feminine, who are not beta males, who are not built to be treated like children. They need to be able to go to a space where they can get with their homeboys and learn how to build a damn business so they can truly be free. Seriously, that's what black men need. And I know black men need a lot of stuff. There's a long list of things black men need, but I would put at the top of that priority list, these black men need economic opportunity and economic possibilities and things that tell them that, you know, that they can be successful and have wealth without being a goddamn rapper or a basketball or football player. Seriously, I that drives me insane. You know, we turn around and all we're doing is we're worshiping the rappers and the athletes, and I don't even hate on them. I think that they're fine. I think that's great. Those are great professions. But goddamn, does a Negro have to be 6'8", 240 pounds to have a motherfucking opportunity in this country? Seriously, does he have to be able to rap like T.I. and get a record deal from a white man in order for somebody to listen to him? Why can't we have black men that can say, you know what, I built a damn good carpentry business and me and my family make $500,000 a year. doing carpentry for people, or we sell, I work with Sharif Abdul Malik at We Buy Black, and now we sell laundry detergent, and we're making $10 million a year selling laundry detergent. Why can't we have that? That needs to be the new normal for black men. So really, if you're thinking about this, and I'm really speaking, I'm just flowing, this is my stream of consciousness on this. When I see George Floyd, like a lot of you, I was hurt by what happened, but again, I think a lot of y'all don't understand. Or how about this? A lot of you, everybody saw it from their own perspective. So if you're a mother of a son, you saw your son. If you're white, you saw maybe your black friend. If you're a black man, you saw yourself. Especially if you're a black man who has dealt with some shit, who's confronted with police, who's dealt with racism, who's dealt with the anger and the hurt of being kicked out of the system, who's dealt with the idea of just being treated like a fucking criminal just because of who you are. I know that pain. I know that feeling. I know what it's like to be a black man and to be like, fuck, like, what do I have to do to fit in? Like, this world is not built for me. And I'm just telling you, as one of those men, think about this. I'm sitting here, I'm screaming, I'm yelling and screaming on the internet because I was working with white people and it didn't work out. Let's just leave it at that. And so I think black men, the salvation for black men has to come with black men having oases and spaces where they can be together so that you have the strength of unity, but also they're building together, building economically, creating security, and just creating spaces where these brothers don't even have to hardly fucking deal with white people at all. I swear to God, you're talking to a man who is mentally ill. I'm just going to go ahead and own it right now. Racism makes you mentally ill. Dealing with the frustration and stress of dealing with white folks will make you crazy. I am absolutely an insane human being when I'm saying these things to you. And I will just say that the best treatment for my mental illness was not going to see a white doctor to give me a drug. It wasn't, listening to people who told me to calm down and be and fit in a little bit better. It wasn't when I suddenly found the right white allies to give me the right opportunities. It was when I got the fuck away from white people. I swear to God, I don't hate white people. I really don't. But I don't like working with you. I don't want to be around you. I don't like the bullshit you bring to the table. I don't like the way you think that your culture is more important than mine, or you tell me that I'm wrong. I remember when I was talking about racism when I was 21 years old, and I had this internship with General Electric, and I was making a lot of money, and I thought I was talking to a white ally, and I was saying something to this white lady about the racism I dealt with and how unfair it was. And you know what this fucking lady said? She said some shit like, well, racism isn't the real problem. What we have to do is we have to end poverty. We have to end poverty in America. And I'm like, wait, you mean I got to end poverty? And like, that's a big challenge. Like, I can't end poverty. Like, you mean I have to end poverty before we can actually deal with racism and reparations and what black people have gone through in this country? Are you kidding me? So unfortunately, I'm not saying that all white people are bad. I don't know all white people. I have white neighbors. They're nice people. But I will say this, sometimes y'all sound crazy. Sometimes the shit that you say is not just crazy, but it's condescending. It's like somebody who's speaking this weird language, who has these weird cultures and norms, but because they have been injected with this idea that they're superior to you, they somehow try to dominate you with this bullshit. And if you call it out or you rebel against it or you walk away from it, then suddenly you're being antisocial and we have to get Tyrone out of the office because blah, 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 blah. So here's what I'm saying. Here's what I believe, right? At the end of the day, bottom line is this. I think black men, the number one move for black men, and this is me talking to brothers who really want to solve this problem and solve it for yourself. Maybe you can't solve it for everybody, but solve it for your goddamn self. I think black men have to be the number one entrepreneurs in the history of this fucking planet. Like, I just really think, when I went over to Nike and they were talking about how they create these internships and jobs for a couple of young black guys they hire every year, I'm sitting there thinking, how the fuck are you going to make a difference by creating a job for two people? Like, that doesn't make a difference. You got two guys dressed in monkey suits every day that are coming to some corporate job and feeling better about themselves. That's not going to elevate the community. That makes you feel good. That alleviates you of white guilt. Black men need a massive Marshall Plan level, New Deal, FDR level type of shit that comes to that will absolutely positively on a massive scale overhaul the condition of black men by the tens of thousands. And I believe that the most direct pathway to that is very basic. All we got to do is convince our people to buy into the idea. I'm speaking as an advisor here. I'm not telling you what to do, but buy into the idea that black men should study entrepreneurship and starting our own businesses as much as we study football, basketball, and rapping. Like if we put as much energy into becoming bosses and owners and acquiring property and doing stuff, things like what Jay Morrison's doing or whatever, like that is the most liberating shit I've ever seen. I swear to God, even a black man who has a tiny business that isn't making that much money feels a level of pride that a corporate Negro can never feel. Seriously, a high-paid slave will never know what it's like to be a free man with a low income. Like, so you could, if you're free with a low income, you will feel a level of happiness, fulfillment, stability, and freedom that nobody can ever feel when they're sitting under the white man's roof. So I'm not trying to position this as a race war kind of thing. I don't spend much time hating white people because I don't find that to be a useful or productive use of my time. But I think in terms of us loving black people and really thinking deeply about, the George Floyds of the world. And, let's say George Floyd was in the store drunk or whatever he was with the fake $20 bill or whatever. I saw some of my relatives in that situation. Like that's what I'm seeing when I saw George. I just kind of saw people that I know or whatever. And I just think a lot of black men are just kind of out here. We're just kind of out here with no sense of purpose. And I think that the reason they don't have a sense of purpose is because whatever's put in front of them, starting with the bullshit that they're being exposed to in the public school system, to that stupid job where they're being given orders by some white man, like none of that is interesting to them, right? So why do they gravitate to sports and hip hop and all that? Well, if you look at the rappers, they have pride. They get to feel like bosses. They get to feel like they control their own destiny. They have freedom of expression, right? You look at the basketball players. They're big and strong and competitive, and they get to be champions. They get to be leaders. They get to be winners, right? Well, we need other spaces like that don't involve you having to be 6'8", 240 pounds, and don't involve you having to be able to rap like T.I. or Killer Mike. Those are two of my favorite rappers. Those guys are really talented. Most black men can't do what they do. But I think that you can also have guys that, like, for example, I might not be a T.I. on the microphone, but I feel like fucking T.I. when I'm sitting here talking to you guys and I'm teaching you guys about black economics. Like seriously, he can flow in the booth and I can flow when I'm talking to you. Like, I feel strong when I'm talking to you. I feel free when I'm talking to you. I feel good when I'm with my people. I feel great when I'm taking care of my family. Like, and that's just something that is so wonderful and so powerful, and it's amazing and it's spiritual. And so the black man gets defeated. The knee of the white man is on the black man's neck most of the time, partly because we haven't received or taken. You don't wait for somebody to give you something, you take it. We haven't taken access to our spiritual freedom. And I just believe that we have to reclaim that, right? And I think that the solution is get your black boys acclimated to bosshood, get them acclimated to ownership, get them acclimated to entrepreneurship. Even if they don't want to do it, at least they have it in their back pocket, so that if they ever get to the point where some white man is standing over him and saying, "Sit down, boy," he can stand up and say, "I'm not your boy. I'm a man. I'm going to leave because there's not enough room in this building for the both of us without me having to kick your ass." Right? Seriously. So that's my 2 cents. It took me a while to get it all out. I appreciate you guys listening to me on this. And I really think that that's part of our solution. So just do with it as you wish. And let's just make our black men strong, because I just really think that we're definitely, at the very least, we're stronger together. If George Floyd was a black business owner who had 5 of his business partners, black male business partners, with him at the time that white cop tried to roll up and pull rank on his ass, the white boy would have got fucked up. Seriously, like ain't no white person I've ever seen gonna roll up on a group of strong black men who are not afraid of you, who also have lawyers on deck to sue you for everything you've got after they finish whooping your ass. Like, so black men need each other. We have to be together. and that's what's going to be, I think, the wave of the future once we realize who we really are. So be a warrior, be strong, stop letting these people punk you. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, on Monday we start the Black Stock Market Challenge. So if you want to learn the beginnings of becoming an investor or become a better investor, you can join for free. It's theblackstockmarketchallenge.com, THE. That's theblackstockmarketchallenge.com. Last but not least, if you could make sure you subscribe and all that stuff, and share this video if you know anybody who needs to hear this. So I hope that this was helpful to you, and I'm going to go spend time with my family. So take care, guys. Love you. I'll see you later. Peace. Yes.
Dad.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10, 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's